Hey guys, and welcome back to another 5 minutes tutorial. We're going to work a little bit more on these textures for 3ds Max for the modelling. Just working with the UVW, unwrapping, retexturing, re-importing that back in. So what we've done is we've created this texture in slightly more detail. We've made it tileable and we've tiled it on. And what I've done is I've just got this ready to show you how to merge those things into one, which is something we didn't do in the last video, which we should have done. So you're going to select all those 4 corner ones now that are going to show up like this. You can see it's just the 1 corner, 2 corners, 3 corners and 4 corners, and you can select them all by holding down control, and then we're going to right click and I'm just going to merge all those layers into one. So now you can see that our texture is 1 layer rather than 2, and then we got these safe UVWs as a separate layer because we're going to turn them off before we actually export this properly. Okay, the next thing, you remember where that little box was before? It's just up here. For the front panel, the smaller square, the front panel, and all I'm going to do just to illustrate the point is I'm going to paint this a nice red colour, and I'm just gonna, in fact, why is that, the opacity on that is terrible, make that hundreds, and I'm just going to make that a darker red and push it right up to the end. In fact, there we go. I don't know why I've got this stupid brush on, but I have, and that's it. There we go. Okay. So if I zoom into this a little more, I'm not going to worry too much about doing anything else to it. I think that's probably about all we need, really. In fact, so let's just come back out. It just illustrates the point to me, and to you guys as well. Okay, so we're going to turn the visibility for these safe UVWs off. I'm going to deselect this by right clicking, and then I'm going to save that as save textures again, and it's going to be a PNG file because we like working with PNGs, and I'm just going to call that the same thing, so safe texture. Yes, I want to replace it. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to 3ds Max now, and I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to close that out as well. So that's everything we've got there, and now let's go to the material editor. This is the fun bit. This is the bit where we actually apply the material, create material from the texture that we've just made, and we're going to apply it in onto this and render a picture of it. Let's just open it up. This looks quite similar to the layout for Blueprints as well. I just want to point that out. It's nice and easy. I like this system. A lot of different programs and software packages are now coming with stuff like this, and it makes it's called visual coding, and it makes things so much easier. I could sit here and type hours and hours and hours of code to do the same thing that I can do in 10 minutes with this visual system, and I'm so glad that a lot of other software packages are picking this sort of thing up now, this standard layout. Okay, anyway, so we're going to go to desktop. I'm going to navigate off to where I made that safe texture. I'm going to pull it up here, and that's it. So all I've done is I pulled off a standard material from the materials section, and then from the maps I've pulled off a bitmap, and then in that bitmap I've selected the texture that we've just made in Photoshop, and I'm going to chuck that straight into the diffuse. There we go, and then we're going to go back down. I'm going to come back into here. I'm just going to reselect all of this like this, go back to my material editor, and now I should be able to just assign material to selection. It's the 4th one in after the cursor, so just click that and that will assign that material to my texture. Now you're not going to see it in the viewport as such. I mean, you might have settings, everything set up so you can do, but for me I haven't, just because it makes life a little bit easier. But what you're going to do is you're going to bring it into view so it's nice and squarely in the viewport. It should technically render the texture for me, but I'm just going to have to go to rendering, and I'm going to render the texture. I don't know why my shortcut key's not working, but you can see there perfectly I've got this texture now on my box. It's not the best render in the world, but it's there and it proves the point. That red square now sits nicely on that keypad, and you see how that worked. And then all these other textures, the tileability on them is actually pretty reasonable. If we just go, and I'm going to with GI. Okay, I'm going to load that, and now it should not respond on me. There you go, that's fine. So I'm going to go back to, let's try something else. Let's use radiosity. Okay, so I'm going to go to that, and I'm just going to set that to there. I'm going to re-render, and that's done absolutely natural for me. So right, mental ray with daylighting, and that's going to do absolutely nothing. So I'm going to close it out. I'm going to come back in, and after pissing around with the rendering settings, I went with the mental ray daylighting, reloaded it, and eventually it all started working again. So, and it came up with a pretty nice thing. But anyway, so the main point is we've used the UV mapping to map out the areas of a texture, predefined areas that it's going to use from a texture to texture certain planes of this one object. So you can see how it's worked there. We've taken that one square that we knew from the first video, or the second video actually, that square is this square that's going to be the front pane of this thing. So we've just masked that out as red, and it's mapped it on here nicely. And it's actually come up with a half decent render for the fact that I'm using a pissy laptop. Anyway, any questions, leave them down below. If you want anything specifically covering, then feel free to ask for them. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next videos. The next ones in 3ds Max are going to be some more advanced poly editing, some smoothing, and creating some natural shapes. And with Unreal, we're going to take this and import this back into Unreal, and we're going to see how that works and see how that looks. Okay, anyway, we'll see you in the next videos. Thanks, guys.